What's up, SmugStick? It's everyone. Welcome to a new part of What If Bardock Was Sent into the Future. Last time, Bardock was captured by the Galactic Patrol after his attack against the Heaters. But it was obvious to the patrollers that they weren't in the wrong here. After Bardock trained a little bit with Mires, Earth needed one final Saiyan for the Super Saiyan God ritual. Though he wasn't ready to confront his family just yet, he had no choice once Goku teleported in, helping in the ritual, and admiring just how far Saiyans had evolved. Bardock confronted Kakarot, explaining just who he is, and having one epic match. Bardock decided to stay on Earth at Monster Island, taking bounty hunting missions in space. But during one of his missions, he found out that Goten has snuck onto his ship. Now the two of them set out on adventures, with no knowledge of the fact that Frieza had just been revived. The like goal for this video is 3,000 likes, and the next part is up on Patreon early. Let's continue with the story. In outer space, in a world ravaged by criminals, Bardock and Goten rush at the Macaroni gang from either side of the train. Goten's Super Saiyan surprises them, distracting them from the incoming attacks from Bardock. In a 1-2 punch, the gang knocked out the trio. They'd already been out in space for weeks, taking out galactic criminals. The first few days were rough, as Bardock got such a tongue lashing from Chi-Chi once she contacted the ship with the help of Bulma. Thankfully, it was summer break, so Goten spending time with Grandpa for a week or so couldn't be that bad. Goten was rambunctious, and Bardock wasn't exactly used to being around kids. More than once he lost his patience, but there was something about the boy that always made things okay in the end. As they carried the gang over to the ship to deliver to the Galactic Patrol, Bardock looked onto the horizon. That's right, he had been here before, with a squad. He wondered who the natives were before Frieza sold the planet, if any survived, if they grew up to hate the Saiyans, just like Granola had. The universe had changed so much. There was no room for people like him anymore. Only Vegeta understood that. Yet Vegeta was nothing like the Saiyans he once knew. He had a family, he had friends, there was light behind those eyes. Bardock, on the other hand, despite being reunited with his family, felt isolated. He just hoped King Yama had been kinder to Gine. Bardock and Goku's relationship was one of respect, but the time for him to be a father had long passed. Still, Goku tried his best to make him feel welcomed, invited him to picnics and the like. Goten and Chi-Chi were the most receptive to him, especially Goten. Gohan seemed to have a little bit of distrust, surely having bad memories of the other Saiyans. But over time, he began to open up, especially once he was introduced to Videl and Mr. Satan, both of whom he got along with, even if he did punch Mr. Satan across the face when he boasted about being the strongest human on Earth. Kakarot's friends were nice. Krillin and Piccolo actually sparred with him sometimes. Even Android 18 did. She had known that Bardock lived in 17's island, and 17 was one of the few people who kept him company and often brought him food, having meals together. But it was like they all walked carefully around Bardock. He hated it. He wasn't some old lost man. He was a soldier, and again, Vegeta was the only one who understood. The prince taught Bardock how to control the Ozaru transformation. If he wanted to live on Earth, then he would have to get used to the full moon. He also took a chance to learn about the artificial moon, something he'd used a couple of times during their adventures with Goten. For old time's sake, Goten had never seen an Ozaru before and was now a little upset that he didn't have a tail. Continuing to ask questions about the Saiyans over and over again, Bardock tried to avoid answering many specific ones. He didn't want Goten to see him any different. So instead of answering, he decided to teach Goten the artificial moon. That way they can have a team attack. If Bardock was ever in a pinch, Goten could release it, blinding their enemy and transforming Bardock. Goten loved it, and they got to use it once or twice as they returned to the Galactic Patrol HQ. To deliver the Macaroni gang, Granola and Jacko thanked them for their help. Following the fallout of the Heaters, Mires offered Granola a job at the Galactic Patrol. He was already a great bounty hunter. Why not help other planets? Now Granola was Jacko's partner. Goten and Bardock were getting ready to embark on another mission, when suddenly, Jacko got a call.
What? Slow down. You don't really mean... But how? Earth?
The Saiyans spun on their heels to see Granola's pale face, locking eyes with Bardock. Frieza is back. Without even thinking, Bardock's Super Saiyan aura erupted. Goten was scared. Bardock tried to tell Jacko to bring the patrol, but he insisted that they don't have that many strong people to even deal with the likes of Kui. Bardock didn't care to argue anymore, grabbing Goten's hand and rushing to the ship. Granola ran after him. He wasn't going to be left behind. Bardock dropped off Goten at home, though he really wanted to come. Bardock told him that this was more dangerous than anything they'd ever faced before. He apologized and left. He stopped at Gohan's home, who already knew Frieza was approaching. It was terrifying, a stronger power than anything that felt before. The team, including Granola and Jacko, descended upon the site of Frieza's ship. A flash struck Bardock's mind, seeing Frieza's face over and over again. Guinea, his squad, Raditz, the Saiyans. They were then replaced by Earth, Goku, and Vegeta, covered in blue light. And finally, his own face again, blasting his friends. He shook his head. He didn't know what that was about, but his heart was pounding faster and faster. It was surely just the nerves. He needed to stop Frieza. By that time, the Emperor was surprised to see them already waiting for him, though he was hoping to see Goku. That's when his eyes focused on Bardock. He looked just like Goku, but rougher. Indeed, he did recognize him. He was the Saiyan who challenged him long ago. A smirk formed on Frieza's face. Bardock's aura was leaking golden spots as he couldn't contain the Super Saiyan rage. Frieza fired a single death beam that cut through the air. Thankfully, Granola was there, and with his precise sniper shot was able to fire a blast into the path, interrupting it.
A cerulean. It really is a doomed race convention here.
With a wave of his hand, an army of soldiers rushed out of the ship and towards the Z fighters. With a roar, Bardock's aura erupted into Super Saiyan 2. Several soldiers were being taken down quickly. Krillin and the others were doing incredibly well. It was all very cathartic for Bardock. Similarly to the anime, however, Tagoma's body was switched with Ginyu's frog body, and he began to ruthlessly attack. Bardock cackled at the idea of Ginyu being stuck inside a frog for so long, and while the captain glared at Bardock, he recognized him as one of the guys who nearly joined the Ginyu Force long ago. Gohan looked at Bardock in disgust, with the Saiyans saying that 1. Gohan has no room to judge, and 2. He didn't want to. The Ginyu Force had just lost a member, and they were forcing every Saiyan to do the poses. In a flash, Bardock punched Ginyu across the face, but the alien quickly recovered, only to be met by Gotenks slamming into his chest. Bardock, Piccolo, and Gohan yelled at the kids for coming, and though Gotenks boasted about being able to defeat Frieza, the fusion was quickly undone. Bardock appeared above Tagoma Ginyu and fired a riot javelin, decimating the alien. Frieza gritted his teeth, while Trunks thought that Goten's grandpa was amazing.
Kakarot's not here, but we're more than enough to handle you.
Bardock burst towards Frieza, avoiding a death beam and kicking Frieza out of the chair. Frieza appeared behind Bardock to slam him into the ground, only to be met by a sniper shot from Granola. Gohan zoomed with a fist into Frieza's stomach. Clearly, he was underestimating Earth's forces, creating a huge explosion that destroyed the cliffside and sent the fighters into multiple directions. They were all alive but hurt. When the smoke cleared, Frieza was now in his final form. Though Bardock had never seen it before, Bardock had no idea Frieza had more forms. Still, he was confident in his Super Saiyan powers. His golden aura flaring around him, Gohan stepped forward as well, his own aura surging into Super Saiyan 2 as Granola readied up. Together, the three of them launched themselves at Frieza as Gohan's fist struck and unleashed a furious barrage of blows. Granola fired precise energy shots, though to their surprise, the Emperor was able to block quite a few of them. Bardock seized the moment, charging in from the side to deliver a powerful punch that connected with Frieza's jaw. He recovered quickly, and with a sudden burst of speed, he appeared behind Granola and slammed his fist into the Cerulean's back, grabbing Gohan by the neck with his tail and slamming him into Granola. Frieza then turned to Bardock.
Now, monkey, let's see how much you can endure.
Bardock lunged at Frieza again, but the Emperor sidestepped it, delivering a crushing blow into Bardock's stomach. Frieza grabbed him by the hair, slamming Bardock back into the ground. Gohan and Granola struggled to their feet, firing energy blast at Frieza in a desperate attempt to distract him. Frieza merely laughed and swatted the blast away, and with a wave of his hand, sent his own blast back, exploding around Granola and Gohan. Despite the pain, Bardock refused to give up.
Why don't you join me instead? Think of the power, the planets at your mercy. Is that not what you want? You'll always be a murderer. A killer, a destroyer of planets. No matter how much you wish to atone, you'll always be an Ozaru dancing at my command.
Goten had been watching from a distance, and he couldn't hold back his tears. Granola spoke up. No, us Ceruleans died under your system, you slaver. Bardock saved me, because he saw you for who you really were. Saiyans aren't what you say they are anymore. The universe has evolved and left you behind. No planet will bow down to you anymore. This only served to anger Frieza, as he fired death beams at their legs, knocking them to the ground. As Frieza stomps on Bardock's chest again, the Saiyan's sight shifts to look at Goten. A tear running down his face, his aura begins to spark, and Goten thinks of something. Without hesitation, Goten throws a small key-ball that grazes Frieza's cheek. The Emperor laughs. He isn't above killing children. He turns to fire a death beam, but is interrupted as Goten yells out,
"Burst open and mix!"
What?
Everyone is blinded as Frieza cannot keep a hold of Bardock. This isn't a mere Ozaru. The glowing golden hair terrified Frieza. This was a nightmare. Golden Ozaru Bardock blasts at Frieza, getting him away, but doesn't stop as he begins to rampage and blast at the city from a distance. Frieza thinks this is fabulous. He can just sit back and watch a Saiyan do his bidding like he used to. Gohan tries to yell at Bardock again to remember who he is, why he's fighting, who he is fighting. Bardock doesn't stop. Goten flies up to tell his grandfather that he doesn't have to be what Frieza wants him to be, that he has a second chance here. Bardock stops for a second to look at Goten when he suddenly hears the piercing sound of a death beam. Frieza has shot at Goten, though it didn't reach him, as Gohan appeared to hold his brother and was pierced through the left side, but was caught by Piccolo. The Ozaru turned to look at the assailant.
Dirty flies. Get away from my Saiyan.
The Ozaru had his eyes locked on Frieza. He could see reflected in them himself.
This will change everything. My destiny. The destiny of planet Vegeta. Kakarot's destiny. Yes, even your destiny.
Before transitioning into the destruction of planet Vegeta, while the golden glow remained. Was it from Frieza or Kakarot? He wasn't sure. Planet Vegeta is all he could see in those red eyes. Then he heard Mira's voice. Death doesn't discriminate between the sinners and the saints. Why did he survive? Was there a reason at all? Then surely it was worth fighting for. If there wasn't, then it was still worth kicking Frieza's ass over. Frieza doesn't have a say on what he does anymore. No one does. He is the one thing in his own life he can control. And control he did, as steam began to form around his aura. Frieza took a step back. He knew something was going on as he fired blasts to try and stop it, but Granola appeared before Bardock. He never thought he'd be defending a great ape, as he poured all of his energy into a blast. It brought Bardock enough time as he shrunk down into normal size, smoke surrounding him. Frieza roared as he zoomed towards the smoke, only to be kicked away as Goten's eyes widened to see Bardock had transformed.
Maybe I really am just an Ozaru deep down, but that may be exactly what I need to defeat you, my lord.
Super Saiyan 4. Suddenly, at Beerus' planet, they sensed something incredible. It felt like a great ape, but so much stronger. Not only that, but they realized they could sense an evil presence. The earth rumbled beneath Bardock's feet as he launched himself forward in a blur of speed, closing the gap between him and Frieza in an instant, his fist connecting with Frieza's face, sending the tyrant skidding backwards through the dirt. Bardock continued the assault. It didn't matter where Frieza tried to block, because Bardock kept hitting him wherever he saw an opening, as the Emperor took heavy damage. Finally catching one of Bardock's fists, Frieza unleashed a powerful energy blast that sent the Saiyan back. Frieza charged in with his fist drawn, but Bardock was already upon him, driving a brutal knee into Frieza's gut. The Emperor had wanted to save this for Goku, but clearly he had no choice. With a surge of energy, he pushed backwards and transformed into his golden form, his powers spiking dramatically. As a blur of gold, Frieza reappeared behind Bardock and delivered a barrage of lightning-fast strikes from all directions. Each blow hit with precision, sending shockwaves through Bardock's body as he struggled to defend himself. Bardock had to resort to his cunning instead. As Frieza charged in again, Bardock grabbed the remains of the nearby spaceship, hurling at Frieza. The Emperor blasted the ship apart, but the explosion provided the perfect distraction. Bardock appeared behind Frieza and delivered a powerful double-handed smash to the back of his head. But as he was about to be sent flying down, Frieza grabbed Bardock's leg with his tail, spun around, and slammed him into the ground instead. Every small mistake Bardock made led to Frieza landing a devastating blow. Bardock had to play the defensive, slow Frieza down, It was smarter for him to reserve his ki and dodge as much as he could, while Frieza continued to panic and run out of ki. It was obvious that these transformations were brand new to them, but Frieza seemed to be taking much more of a toll on him. Once again, Frieza retaliated with a tail whip, but Bardock caught it and swung Frieza around, slamming him into the side of a mountain and following up with a volley of ki blast. Bardock used his ability and instincts to evade and block, buying time and wearing the foe down, using the training he had with Granola. At one point, Bardock's battle was interrupted by a vision of Frieza punching him across the face, but to his own surprise, Bardock used this to his advantage, seeing that and avoiding the attack. He thought that surely that was a fluke, but it was impressive. Slowly, Frieza's movements were becoming less and less precise, his attacks slower. Bardock smirked through the pain. His plan was working. He just had to endure a little bit longer. Suddenly, the battlefield was illuminated by a burst of blue light as Goku and Vegeta arrived in Super Saiyan Blue. Goku's eyes narrowed as he watched his father's energy unfold. He realized that Bardock was playing the long game, trying to outlast Frieza by letting himself tire out. Frieza was tired of battling Bardock. He wanted Goku and Vegeta instead. But the Saiyans ignored him. Krillin understood and tossed the senzu bean to Goku. Goku then threw it at Bardock, catching it in midair. He looked down at his son with confusion. He was just buying time for them to arrive. But then he realized Goku wanted this to be his battle, eating it. Instantly, his wounds were healed, and his strength returned to his peak. His aura flared brilliantly, and with a Zenkai boost, rejuvenated. He turned to face Frieza again, who was visibly shocked and angered by the sudden turn. Frieza was insulted. He came here to fight Goku and Vegeta, not this old man. His rage had reached a boiling point. If they wanted to die by his hands so badly, then so be it. With a roar, Frieza gathered his energy into a massive death ball, the dark sphere pulsating as he hurled it at Bardock. He wasn't just going to kill him, but the entire planet. Frieza's form flickered from golden to white, his energy clearly withering away. Bardock stood his ground, his eyes burning with fierce determination. He extended his hands, gathering his energy into a concentrated sphere of blinding light. Memories of his friends and family flooded his mind, fueling his power. And with a mighty roar, Bardock launched his attack back, a red Super Riot Javelin. It soared through the air, clashing with Frieza's death ball, the two forces battling for dominance. The Saiyan continued to pour more and more energy into it, and slowly the Riot Javelin began to overpower the death ball, inching closer to Frieza. Bardock knew all these people were counting on him. Goku wasn't going to intervene. He just crossed his arms and smiled, but to his surprise, Goten, Gohan, and Granola all fired blasts at the death ball as well. To them, Bardock had truly proven himself, and Goku was proud. It was too late for Frieza to retreat. The Riot Javelin engulfed him, the sheer force of the blast tearing through his golden form. Frieza's scream of agony echoed across the battlefield as his body was consumed by light and disintegrated into nothingness. At the same time as the blinding light, Bardock saw a vision again, a familiar face facing Vegeta, before it unleashed a blast that decimated everything around them. Bardock's heart sank as he fell to his knees. He was scared of what that meant. Still, unlike his son, he didn't look in disappointment at Frieza, but in pride. Weight lifted off his shoulders. Goku ran up to Bardock to congratulate him. It was incredible. This was something he'd never seen before. Vegeta likewise was in awe. A new Saiyan transformation. Is this why Bardock wanted to learn about the artificial moon? Bardock admitted that he had a feeling that there was something beyond, as Miras had told him to look into his Saiyan nature for answers. But if there was anyone to thank for this victory, it was Goten and the others. Without them, they would have lost. Goten cheered happily. Bardock's Super Saiyan 4 power had impressed the God of Destruction, who wondered if he should be invited to train as well. Bardock said that he would consider it. He wasn't the biggest fan of Beerus, and preferred to grow on his own. But as time went by, Bardock would sometimes accompany them, if anything just to see Goku and Vegeta, whom he bonded with, over ideas of how to use Super Saiyan 4 effectively. It seemed like Vegeta was at least a little jealous that he didn't have it. But for the most part, Bardock would just hunt down criminals out in space. He didn't really care about their crimes, just the money and the chance to fight powerful beings. Plus, that vision he had after defeating Frieza bothered him, and he tried not to stay on Earth as much as he could. Doing things like saving a family from a thief or an old man from a murderer. Whispers of him began to scatter little by little. When it was time for the Universe 6 tournament to come, Goku tried to get him, but Bardock really wasn't interested. He thought tournaments sounded kinda dumb, but he decided to watch, at Goten's request. Bardock was extremely surprised, as the second he stepped out of the cube, he ran over to the man wearing clothes similar to the ancient Saiyans, Kaba, a Saiyan from Universe 6. Bardock was surprised to see how they evolved, particularly the lack of tail. He was interested in visiting planet Sadala one day. After Kaba lost, Bardock did something that upset Champa. Flying over to the Saiyan, the two of them stepped to the side, and though they watched the battles, their focus was almost entirely on just talking. Bardock asked many questions about planet Sadala, and vice versa. He remembered seeing old, ancient battle armor similar to that. Kaba, likewise, was interested in hearing just how different they were. In the end, Bardock was just glad that, at least in one reality, Saiyans got to prosper, even if they were ridiculously skinny. Bardock also continued to eye Frost. Goten certainly wouldn't approve of him saying this, but he didn't quite trust him from the moment he saw him. He was glad to be proven right. The tournament would go on as in the original story, with Bardock getting his first real taste of the incredible power of Super Saiyan Blue, learning a little bit as each fight went on. And his first look at the Dragon Balls in the form of Super Shenron. It really was incredible. But somewhere out there in a different universe, a Kaioshin in training named Zamazu watched the tournament and decided once and for all that mortals needed to die. Thanks for watching, everyone. I've had a lot of fun writing Goten and Bardock. It's a weird combination of characters that I don't get to do much often. Did you also know that Dragon Ball has a bunch of official lost arcs, exclusive to stage productions? Check it out in my video here.